Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Some Christmas News. I'm your host, Thomas Finney, and thank you for joining us on this Christmas day of, well, the weirdest year ever. Whether you've been stuck at home eating your 20th batch of banana bread, or you've been on the front lines working to keep all of us safe, 2020 has been filled with a lot of bad news for everyone. So to cap off the year that's felt as long as a trip to the DMV, we reached out on our social media to find out some of the unique ways that you are celebrating this holiday season. Speaking of social media, this first holiday tradition comes to us from a family that uses Facebook every year for their celebrations. Or should I say competitions? Celetitions? Comprobations?
Our favorite Christmas tradition is my family and Jordan's family get together and we all pair off in groups of 2 or 3. We make a gingerbread house competition. The winner is determined by Facebook, so.
It's a lot of fun.
For many people, celebrations are looking a lot different this year. And for this next couple, that is abundantly true. Not just because of COVID, but also because of the newest addition to their family.
Every year for Christmas Eve, we like to put on our ugly Christmas sweaters.
And then we go to Starbucks before the Christmas Eve service. We can't this year, so we're at home. We just talk about what the past year has looked like. This year we got our little baby girl. And then we talk about our goals for the next coming year. This year Esther got her own little coffee too. Cheers!
Christmas Day often gets all the attention, but let's hear about a Christmas Eve tradition from our good friend Catherine.
One of my favorite Christmas traditions, when we were little, we would go to a local ministry that had a pop-up Christmas shop. And so we could go around and shop for our siblings. And those were the presents that we got to open up on Christmas Eve. That was always kind of our fun pre-Christmas tradition.
Sometimes things don't go the way we planned them, but if we remain joyful and roll with the punches, unexpected circumstances can actually add to the experience and make for great stories down the road, like this one.
One year for Christmas, there was a blizzard. It took out the power in my house and the neighborhood to make something out of nothing. It was too cold to stay at our house with no power, so we went and stayed at a hotel instead. And to kind of create a new plan, we went and saw a movie that Christmas Day. Every year since, we have gone to see a movie together. We all vote and pick on the newest movie that's coming out that we want to see, and my family does that together. It's awesome.
And we feel so honored that you have been willing to let us in on what your holidays look like and to share with us the special traditions that you hold dear. In fact, in this next one, we even get to see the celebration in action. Take a look.
Here is the Christmas tradition. Opening Christmas pajamas.
Ooh, ooh!
So every Christmas Eve, new pajamas are opened and worn for the night. What's in there?
Dinosaurs. Mama, we have the matching pajamas. Wait, sister has them? Why not in the package?
Nice!
Our next submission comes all the way from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Julie writes that growing up in South Dakota, her favorite traditions were opening the red, long felt advent calendar with a jingle bell at the bottom. She also writes that lighting the candles under the metal angels that spun in a circle were also her favorite, and choosing and opening one present on Christmas Eve. Finally, she writes that her mom always made Christmas holly out of cornflakes and marshmallow sauce, green food coloring with red hots for the berries. Julie, that sounds like a magical Christmas. And with that, let's find out how the weather's doing. Ruth, how's it looking out there?
Not bad.
Thanks, Ruth. Now, usually, when you hear a story of a person getting locked in their bathroom, it's not good news. But Allison from Springfield, Illinois is fighting to change that stigma.
So when I was a little girl, my mom and grandma used to take me and any cousins that wanted to join to go see the Nutcracker Ballet. I was totally enchanted by it, like many little girls are. And I ended up finding my dad had the CD for it. I stole it and listened to it all the time. I created my own little tradition that on Christmas Eve, I would lock myself in the bedroom and I would listen to the Nutcracker Ballet while I wrapped all my Christmas gifts. And that's something that I still do to this day, even though I don't have to lock myself in the bedroom anymore. I will make sure I'm listening to the Nutcracker Ballet while I wrap my Christmas gifts.
And if you enjoy a good laugh, buckle up because this next tradition comes to us from our good friend Dane, and he shares not one, not two, but 3 holiday traditions, and this exclusive peek is sure to have your sides splitting.
So 3 traditions come to mind for my family. So one of them being a saran ball where we wrap a bunch of like goodies in a giant ball of saran that's probably like a little bit bigger than a basketball, and you unwrap, and then the person next to you rolls dice, and when they roll doubles, then you have to pass it. And then the second one that we do is my dad always does a treasure hunt for my mom. We have this little ornament that opens up, and so there's a clue. And then the third one is that we sing happy birthday for Jesus, and we have a cake. So those are my 3 wacky Christmas traditions.
Come to mommy. Go! I'm trying. Guys, go! Come on! Go! Oh, you guys get to that! Get to that! There's a gift card! Hurry!
Standing all over the floor.
Hurry, Mom! Spin it! Get to that gift card! Get the gift card out, Mom!
And apparently Dane's family isn't the only one that bakes a cake and sings happy birthday to Jesus. Let's hear from Nicole and Jason, a newly engaged couple who have much to celebrate this year.
One of my favorite Christmas memories from growing up was making Jesus a birthday cake. We would make him cake as a family on Christmas Eve and then sing him a happy birthday in the morning on Christmas Day and eat that as a family then to celebrate. So that was really fun.
Mine would just be spending time with family, just making hot chocolate, wrapping everybody's presents, and just being with each other.
Brian from Illinois shares with us a story that, to be truthful, is pretty wild.
So our main family tradition growing up was going to my grandparents' house, and beforehand we would go to church. We would stand in the back so we can get to our cars quickly. There used to be, family friends and stuff that would also hang in the back as a tradition. And I had a loose tooth, and I thought it'd be so cool to have Tooth Fairy give me money on top of already getting the Christmas presents I had the next day. So people took turns trying to pull my tooth out, and eventually we got it out, and I was a bloody mess. I had blood all over my clothes, and the priest and people in the church that was completely filled kind of gave me strange looks as they saw blood everywhere. The next day I got $15 and I think a Nintendo 64. So all in all, it was a pretty good Christmas that year.
Well, Brian, that was quite... Cameras up here. Well, Brian, that was quite the story. Man, whoever has to go next is going to have some pretty big shoes to fill. Speaking of, that reminds me of our next couple who comes to us from southern Missouri.
Hey, Carter and Joe here, and Joe has a family tradition that she's passed on to our little family. So we do this every year on December 6th.
It's St. Nicholas Day. You may have done it when you were a kid, but basically the morning of December 6th, St. Nick will have filled your shoes with yummy surprises, and it's based on the actual man who became Santa Claus, St. Nicholas. We celebrate it by buying each other treats and candy, and then we fill the other person's shoes. And then we pretend that, I just found your shoes, and St. Nicholas told me to give these to you. And then usually there's like one big ticket item, and then a lot of like little candies.
Yeah, just little candies and drinks and stuff like that. Whatever can fit into a shoe.
My family has done it since I was little, and when I was in college, my dad even would mail me a pair of my shoes stuffed with candy.
Thanks to movies like Home Alone and Elf, we often imagine romantic Christmases spent strolling through big cities. Well, this family grew up doing just that and even came up with a fantastic name for one of their traditions.
One of my favorite Christmas memories is when we would go to Chicago every year, sometime in December. I love Christmas lights, so we got to go to Michigan Avenue and walk around as a family and stay in a different hotel each year, and it was just a special time.
And for me, everything about Christmas was fun. Going to Chicago, the Minnie O'Byrne Crisis Nursery, Christmas shop, and a thing that we called Pajama Bama, where we'd get in the car in our pajamas and drive around town and eat crappy food and look at Christmas tree lights.
Boy, oh boy, I have really appreciated listening to all of this Christmas news. Our last submission comes to me all the way from our fireplace. Let's hear from my lovely wife, Ruth.
Thanks, Thomas.
Well, growing up, I actually didn't celebrate Christmas. My dad was a bit of a hippie and hated most traditions and rules. And he also felt very strongly that we should be celebrating the birth of Christ every single day, and that appreciating his life and death and resurrection wasn't something that should be confined to December 25th. So even though we didn't have a Christmas tree, we still celebrated the Christmas spirit by living in the peace, the joy, the love, and the reconciliation that Christ brings every day.
And that brings us to our final segment that we are calling The Christmas News. See, the story of Christmas is an example of unconditional, sacrificial love. A father who loved his children so much that when he saw them in trouble, he sacrificed everything to give them the greatest Christmas gift of all, his life. He came to them as a baby, took on the name Jesus, and got on their level. He listened to them, taught them, and cried with them. Ultimately, he loved his children so much that when they messed up, he told them not to worry and took the punishments they deserved, sacrificing his life for theirs. The beauty of Christmas is that it is much more than a day or a month, a tradition or a song. It is a gift, freely given, of joy, love, and acceptance. This has been a hard year for many of us, but despite what we often hear, there is some good news. The ultimate good news. We can, as Buddy the Elf once said, treat every day like Christmas by recognizing the beauty of this story, trusting that we are loved, and love others as Christ loved us. We know that this isn't an easy time for a lot of people, so if you find yourself struggling, please reach out to someone. Be willing to ask for help. If you need someone to listen, please message our Instagram at Ruth and Thomas, and we will do our best to get back to you quickly. That concludes this episode of Some Christmas News and our videos for 2020. We love you all, and we'll see you in 2021.